I really like the way I can just share the news with you from my mobile phone. I mean, look, up, down, up, down. UK weather. Britain's roads melt on 33.3 degrees Celsius. Hottest day of the year. And the weatherman on television was saying that it's going to get hotter. Woo! It's when being sun-kissed comes in real handy. In fact, it comes in handy all the time. Melanin is just so wonderful. Next on Raheem Reports. So, here I am, getting some stories lined up to show you that this heat wave is global. It's a global event. That's the right word. A global event. That's the right phrase. Global event. The roads are melting in the UK. But I have some other stories lined up that I'm going to show you in this report that will demonstrate the whole entire world is under judgment. This heat is baking everybody. So here we have UK weather. Britain's roads melt on 33.3 degrees Celsius, hottest day of the year, right? That's the hottest day so far. And it is exceedingly warm. Let's take a look. Melting Britain, UK weather. Britain's roads melt on 33.3 degrees Celsius, hottest day of the year so far, and it's forecast to get hotter. How can I pause you? You. Pause. Disobedient, that's it. There we go. Roads melted in Godalming, or should that be God damning, Surrey today as temperatures soared to record highs of 33.3 degrees Celsius by Thomas Burrows and Neil Barker. I'd like to get to these comments as well, but first, do you feel like the Most High has just looked to England and said, "You're full of iniquity. I'm going to turn you into a chocolate bar and melt your ass"? Because these roads, they're like toffee on a stove. Let's take a look at some of these roads in a minute. But first, let's go across the world and look at these other stories. Wow. Let's start here with a CNN story. We go to Southeast Asia. Killer heat wave wreaks havoc in Southeast Asia by Nathan A. Thompson for CNN. Wow. Story highlights: worst El Nino drought in Southeast Asia for decades. High temperatures killing animals and destroying crops. Schools disrupted due to fears over children's health. Let's read a little bit of this because we got a few stories to look at all across the world. CNN. Drought, severe heat and water shortages are disrupting schools, killing animals and ravaging rice crops in Southeast Asia. Thailand, Laos and Cambodia have recorded temperatures up to 44.6 degrees Celsius. That's 112.4 Fahrenheit. Wow. And here's me complaining about some 33.3 degrees Celsius weather in England, even though it's melting the tarmac and hopefully killing some vermin like foxes. I don't care how you feel about that. I hate it when they dump on my paving stones. You buggers ain't paying tax. And a brother, funnily enough, this morning when we had a delivery from Hey Presto Tesco, said to me that it's warm, but in Africa, this is not warm. In Africa, this is cool. Over there is hot. And I said to him, over there is a type of weather that will kill you if you're not used to it. And his response, oh yeah. Beating all-time national highs according to data from the Weather Underground, a commercial weather service. Singapore too has seen abnormally high temperatures, while in Malaysia, lakes have dried up and vegetable output has withered. My God, we're on a water planet. But if the Most High God wants to just take away that water, look with your own eyes what's happening. In Cambodia, school children have vastly diminished water supplies. It's very difficult to get water for the latrines, says Shrey Norn, a 13-year-old girl from Tabong Khmum province, because some wells have dried up. And I have many friends who don't come to school because it's too hot. Now, back in the day when I was at school, I'd have wished for weather like this. And then, when I start sweating in my room, I would have wished for the winter again. I can imagine what they're going through, because I've been to Barbados. It's my mother's side of the family. Beautiful island. Shout out to the Bajans tuning in. Hey! Hen Seha, Shrey Norn's teacher, is concerned. I have seen an increase in absenteeism of 30 or 40%. That's almost half, he says. I want to install a fan, but our school doesn't have any electricity. Wow. Remember I said in an earlier report, when there is no electricity, it's as if your civilization has come to a halt. So you can imagine now, if the power grid shuts down, because these electronic components can't take so much heat, and they're underground, which is supposed to be cooler. So if they shut down, because the tarmac is melting, and it's actually incubating these devices like an oven, you can imagine how hot it's getting in certain parts of the planet. When there are no toilets, explained Imam Maruka, Chief of Communication at UNICEF Cambodia, children either go in the bush or would return home, particularly girls, and may not return back to school afterwards. And that's Southeast Asia. Let's take a look at another story, shall we? Power grids stretched as deadly heat wave scorches Asia. Bloomberg News. Japan spot power prices rise to highest level since 2013. China's Hunan province suffering very severe power situation. This is Japan, right? Lest ye forget, listeners, that the Fukushima crisis still isn't over. What was it Michio Kaku said? That thing gonna take 6 months to shut down, and then years to clean up, and then decades to start recovering from. They're still going through that. So imagine, they got the radiation now, it's gone into the sea, into the Pacific Ocean, it's gone into the land, and then the heat wave dries it, particularizes it, brings the dust particles back up, and goes into the air and atmosphere. And men, women, children, pregnant women, newborn children breathe that in. Does it seem that Japan has a pleasant future? I don't think so. A deadly heat wave across Asia is stretching electricity grids from southern China up to Tokyo and Seoul, sending prices to multi-year highs and sparking warnings of more power stress to come. There's a picture of some very hot Asians walking down a high street and a man with his ladyboy fan. Japan on Monday breached records above 41 degrees Celsius, 106 degrees Fahrenheit. I'd love to speak to POV Hilarious D, shout out to that brother, about what temperatures he's getting right now in America, as the heat that's been blamed for at least 15 deaths this month pushed electricity rates to the most in almost 5 years. The Korea Meteorological Administration issued a nationwide heat wave warning after temperatures on Sunday hit the highest since 1994. Wow. So let's see, 1994, 2004, 10 years, 2014, 20 years, plus another 4 years. That's 24 years, a quarter century. The highest temperatures in a quarter century. Chinese authorities continue to warn that peak power loads have already breached last year's levels and are expected to rise higher. Wow. This is, I've never lived through something like this before. So this is why it's very surprising to me. And it's not just in one part of the planet. It's not just England. It's all across Europe. And riots are going on as well. People are still fighting because bankers have ripped off their nations. Now, I can't feel sorry for them because these Europeans ripped off my Israelite nation. This is definitely no fraud. The summer temperatures scorching Asia, home to the world's biggest coal and natural gas consumers, have also struck northern Europe, threatening crops and forcing Sweden to seek help from Italy and France to combat wildfires, as well as North America, with Texas sizzling under record heat. Speaking of Texas, shout out to my homie Chris Jones, love you, man. Shout out to Denise and the baby. Peace, brother, sister, family. Regulators in China have warned in recent weeks that higher temperatures, which they've pegged on climate change, and solid economic growth, are setting the stage for a possible electricity crunch this summer. The governor of southern Hunan province convened an emergency meeting Sunday to address the very severe electricity supply situation, which has forced government buildings to keep air conditioners at 26 Celsius or higher. More electricity is used by households to run their air conditioners, sometimes for 24 hours a day amid high temperature, said Tian Miao, a Beijing-based analyst from Everbright Sun Hong Kai Coal. This, along with electricity used for industries, may form concentrated power loads and lead to a short-term supply shortfall in some Chinese regions. And we'll take a look at Japan in a minute, but let's go to Israel. Heat wave hits Israel. Health ministry warns Israelis to keep hydrated, stay indoors, after forecast calls for temperatures reaching into the high 90s. Aretz Shiva staff. Tuesday will see a slight rise in temperatures. Listen to this. Look how they write this article. Tuesday will see a slight rise in temperatures, becoming warmer than usual in Israel's inland and mountainous regions. Weather along the coast will be muggy with 70% humidity. Temperatures around the country will be higher than usual, ranging between 2 to 4 degrees Celsius, warmer than average in the mountains and inland. Dude, you're getting cooked. You know how I know? Because I did my homework. Let's take a look when we type in Israel heatwave in another search engine, brings up YouTube. If it's just slightly muggy, 2 to 4 degrees Celsius warmer, why is this Jewish boy, this young Jewish gentleman, crying? Picture by Associated Press. Listen to the title here in comparison to this one, which is Heat Wave Hits Israel. It's like, okay, they're getting a little heat. No, dude, they're cooking. Jews in prayer for rain as Israel suffers years of drought. That was 6 months ago. Let's see if we can get something a bit more. Here we go. Current. 7 months ago. 5 straight years of drought in Israel. Clearly, if this article, Heatwave Hits Israel, is still being written today, or yesterday, it was 24th, then this heat wave is serious, man. And whoever wrote this is not giving it justice. Dude, I hope you're watching this. This is judgment on the whole world. Okay, that's Israel. Cooking under the sun. Baking. They're probably having forest fires over there as well. People can't come out where they get burnt to a crisp, cancer, spontaneous to combust, and you're out of here. Let's take a look at Japan. Japan. Heat spikes to 41.1 degrees Celsius near Tokyo as high temperatures to continue until August by Junko Ogura, Kaori and Joji and James Griffiths. CNN. Tokyo, CNN. Dozens of people have died across Japan as the country continues to swelter. Let me read that again. Dozens of people have died across Japan as the country continues to swelter under scorching summer temperatures. You see, sometimes it's just a heat wave in Spain. And oh, did you know there's a heat wave in Spain? Other times it's a heat wave in 1 or 2 states. California is hot as hell right now. Yeah, I heard. But no, England's roads are melting. China's power grid about to shut down. Japan people getting cooked. Israel people getting spontaneously combusted. That's just my theory. Country continues to swelter under scorching summer temperatures. At least 44 people have died since July 9th, with 11 dying on Saturday alone, according to Kyodo News. In Kumagawa, a city near Tokyo, the mercury rose to 41.1 degrees, which is 105.98 Fahrenheit, the highest ever on record in Japan. The highest ever on record in Japan. According to the Japan Meteorological Agency, almost 12 degrees hotter than average temperatures at this time of year. Temperatures had eased off slightly Tuesday, but were still forecast to rise to the high 30s in both Kumagaya and Tokyo. Schools across Japan, which are currently on summer break, have cancelled sporting and outdoor events. Wow. Europe. European heat wave brings drought, wildfires, by Alice Ritchie. Firefighters. Let's take a look at the picture. Firefighters use helicopters to fight wildfires in Sweden as the hot, dry European weather continues. My God, that's power. How do you fight against nature? You got your rockets, you got your nukes, you got your pesticides, you got your military, you got your general, you got tens of thousands of troops, you got your B-52 bombers. But when the elements surround you and move towards you at pace, how do you fight nature? How do you use water to put out fire when the Most High drought your lakes? What are you going to do now? Nothing. Except panic. Wildfires in the Arctic Circle. And when you hear Arctic, you think of cold, right? Does this picture look cold to you? Drought-stricken farmers and a spike in hospital treatment for sunburn. Let's read that again. Wildfires in the Arctic Circle, drought-stricken farmers, and a spike in hospital treatment for sunburn. Burn, baby, burn. An unusually long heat wave this summer has Northern Europe in its grip. You know, like when you were younger and you did something wrong, and your mother or your father, especially your father, and you grip your forearm and you can't move and you're scared to pull away. Does that sound like this? The father of the house of Israel has gripped the whole world just to show you a sign of things to come. Israelite brothers and sisters, pay attention. Comment under the video. Farmers across the region have warned that crop yields will be down, while poor grass quality is affecting the quality of milk and the availability of animal fodder. This is quite amazing. Everything in society depends on something else. We all depend on water. without water, we're literally dead. All the greatest civilizations were raised by water. All the greatest cattle and livestock are raised with clean water, pure water. The cleanest water, the cleaner the better. The water quality suffers or dries up. You see it right there. Crop yields will be down, while poor grass quality is affecting the quality of milk and the availability of animal fodder. In Sweden, where temperatures are the highest for a century, 100 years, farmers are even sending their animals to slaughter because there is no hay left to feed them. This is probably, to me, the most interesting story, because we're part of that European Union, even though there's Brexit and turmoil, a sea of turmoil in the European Union between these Edomites, these so-called white people, Caucasians. And England is itself feeling the heat. Their plight is extreme, but echoes concerns across Europe with weeks of soaring temperatures and little rain. In fact, come to mention it, there were clouds in the sky. It's like the Most High has a sense of humor. I'm going to dry the heck out of your nation and then send grey clouds above your nation and not open them up. Because I see grey clouds yesterday. Did we get a drizzle? Did we see one drop? Nothing. Poland has asked the EU for financial aid after more than 91,000 farms were affected by an unusual spring drought, according to the agricultural minister. Now, if these nations split up, they won't be able to ask someone for aid, will they? Because if they're not obligated, because they are no longer part of a union, such as the European Union, that nation will resent the other nation that doesn't help it. Do you see how this seems to be like a masterful chess game, to have all these nations turn against each other? Latvia declared a national state of disaster in its farm sector in June, a national state of disaster, and also requested early payment of agricultural subsidies from Brussels. Now, you know, Brussels, if they need to bolster their troops because they have their own heat issues in Brussels, and they don't want the goyim, the human cattle, the regular general public in their nation to turn against them. They need to protect themselves. They're going to keep their money to spend that on police and military. They're not going to want to pay you early, are they? So let's read that again. Latvia declared a national state of disaster in its farm sector in June and also requested early payment of agricultural subsidies from Brussels. I don't think they'll be getting early payment. A massive wildfire forced the evacuation of a village in western Latvia earlier this week, which firefighters were still struggling to contain on Friday. See? Dry up the water supply. How firefighters are going to fight the fire? Volunteers, including local farmers who helped transport water through the forest in their tractors, joined the army and National Guard to help fight the blaze. The high temperatures also brought downpours, including flash flooding in the Tatra mountain area spanning the Polish-Slovak border. God does have a sense of humor. I'm going to burn your ass in the east, and I'm going to flood your ass in the west. Around 300 people were evacuated on Thursday night from a village on the Slovak side, rescue officials said. In Germany, which suffered a drought in May and June, agricultural producers warned the harvest this year will be down by between 20 and 50%. So do you know what this means? If stock is down, prices have to go up, which means we will have to pay more money for basic produce, such as bananas, and we eat a lot of bananas, peaches, grapes, strawberries, cherries, you know, all the stuff that we take for granted. We could just go down to the store, walk in there and put in our basket, and then somebody else, like the bank of mum and dad, pays for it. Or if we are working, we pay for it. Can you imagine the price of food going up 4 or 5 times and they announce it on television? Riots are already all over the world. Riots are all across Europe. What kind of riots will face people that don't want to pay for the food? 4 to 5 times. And the cost of living is not going up. Or should I say, the wages are not going up, but the cost of living is going up, ever increasing. I can see it rising now. They're going to need to cover their losses. How else are they going to do it? They're going to have to raise prices. A wildfire earlier this month in the eastern state of Saxe-Anhalt had destroyed 80 hectares, 198 acres of forest. Let me give you an idea of what 1 acre is. When I went to Barbados with my beautiful mother and father, my grandmother, may she rest in peace, had a 1/4 acre. That was enough to fit 2 houses on and have enough space behind those houses to have 2 or 3 cows, a goat pen, a chicken coop, and a gully which you could dip down in, and when people walk past you don't see the cows. So you could literally hide your livestock round the bend of the 1/4 acre. And that was quite big. It had enough space to extend the property considerably. So realistically 2 families could live in a house once it's extended. Say 4 to 5 families, so 4 to 5 people per family. That's 10 people with no problem. That's a 1/4 acre. Now multiply that by 4. 4 times as large, that's 1 acre. And I think 4 acres is that, how much is a football pitch? I think a football pitch is 4 acres. So if we do the math, let's just say that my math is correct, right? Where's the calculator? Okay, 4 acres is 1 football pitch. They say 100. It's 80 hectares, which is 198 acres, over 4 acres. How many football pitches? Nearly 50 football pitches. 49 and a half football pitches. So that's 50 football pitches almost of forest area. Burnt, gone. In Britain, a wildfire on Saddleworth Moor in northwest England, I think I reported that earlier in the week, believed to have been started by arson, raged for 3 weeks before it was put out on Thursday. Dude, I'm betting on the Most High starting that, because those arsonists can't reach the entire world, and dry conditions are part of the atmospheric reality. With just 47 millimeters, 1.8 inches of rain, wow, recorded in Britain between June 1st and July 16th, fire chiefs have warned that parks and other grasslands are like a tinderbox. Last weekend saw an area the size of 100 football pitches burn near Epping Forest, east of London. Now you've seen that report. If you haven't, go and watch it right now. Praying for rain. Yes, just like the Jewish people in the state of Israel. I never thought I'd say this, but we are praying for rain, said the British capital's fire chief Danny Cotton. A ban on hosepipes and sprinklers is being introduced in northwest England on August 5th, prompting advice for people to water their gardens with bath water. I'm not putting my arse water on the grass. I don't want mushrooms springing up on my grass. If I want magic mushrooms, which I don't, I'll go on the internet and get them. And if I want regular mushrooms, which I might do, I'll go to Tesco. Meanwhile, doctors warned of an increase in hospital attendance and admissions due to dehydration and sunburn, particularly among elderly patients. Elsewhere, Portugal's interior minister said it would be sending 2 amphibious firefighting planes to Sweden, battling the heat wave and a drought, which have combined to spark a number of wildfires in southern regions. France, Italy, Poland and Norway have also responded to Swedish appeals for help. The boot was on the other foot. Speaking of boot, Italy's shaped like a boot. They're probably having issues as well. I think we might go to them in a minute. Have also responded to Swedish appeals for help. The boot was on the other foot last year when Portugal had to call on its neighbours to help contain a series of deadly forest blazes which left 112 people dead. Now, I'm looking to the future a little bit and guessing that this help will not always be available because these nations will suffer such drought that they will turn down, even if they don't want to, the requests of their European neighbours because they just can't help them. They have the technology, but they don't have the water supply. Therefore, they don't have the means to carry the solution to these other nations. And that was Europe. Let's take a look at Italy. Yeah, let's do Italy next. And I'm just picking these countries at random just to show you the whole world is being affected by this. Rome, Italy. Romans threatened with water rationing as Italy's heat wave drags on. Half of capital's 3 million residents could have water switched off for 8 hours a day after Italy's driest spring for 60 years. Now, are you still skeptical if you've made it to this portion of the video? If you have, click the like button, subscribe. I got more goodies for you, man. Don't do me like this, baby. 60 years. Italy's driest spring for 60 years. A tourist shelters from the sun near the Colosseum in Rome. Italy is gripped by drought as the summer heat continues with no sign of rain. Photograph Andrew Medicini, Associated Press. Wow. Let's take a look at these pictures. Hey, she looks like she needs some water. And that water doesn't look too deep. Look at the erosion of the water when the tide comes in. They're probably usually stepping off. They could probably see this gate right here, reach down and paddle the water. But not in 2018. More than 1 million residents of Rome are facing water rationing for up to 8 hours a day as the prolonged heat wave that has ravaged southern Europe takes its toll on the Italian capital. Some businesses are already reporting sporadic disruption to their supply. While last month, Mayor Virginia Raggi turned off thousands of the city's public drinking fountains in an effort to save water as the drought set in. Sins of the father will fall on the heads of the children. And what have their fathers done to the house of Israel? That one black nation. How did they treat us? Very, very badly. Exceptionally evil. Switch their water off, yes. Officials from the Italian utility ACEA, the Lazio region that contains Rome, and the Environment Ministry will meet this week to discuss the possibility of rationing the water supply to about half of the city's 3 million residents. Oh, half of them, huh? I bet that half is the poor section. Lazio's governor, Nicola Zingaretti, has ordered that a ban on drawing water from drought-hit Lake Bracciano, which lies about 40 kilometers from the capital and supplies some of its water, will come into force on 28 July. That's 3 days from now. They are working on it and looking at some hypotheses. A decision should be made on Wednesday, a spokesperson for ACEA told The Guardian. That's Italy. Now let's take a look at Greece. Greece. What to know about the deadly wildfires in Greece that are forcing residents to flee into the sea, as they made the Israelites flee when we were conquered by them and were forced to become Gentile. It looks like all these nations are beginning to drink twice the cup that they gave us to drink from. Greece is burning. First 3 words by Grace Dobush. Wildfires flanking Athens have killed at least 49 people in Greece and injured more than 150. The fires are the worst the country has seen in a decade, the BBC reports. Wow. It's the worst in Japan for 24 odd years. It's the worst in China for over a decade. It's the worst in England for a couple decades. Now it's the worst in Greece, has seen in a decade. It's the worst everywhere. You getting the point? The BBC reports. The Attica region of Greece, which includes the capital of Athens, is home to more than 3.8 million people. It's peak tourism season in Greece, where the sector accounts for $16.2 billion annually, 8% of GDP. So your money's being affected. Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras has declared a state of emergency, mobilizing firefighters and military to stop the fires. Italy, Germany, Poland and France have sent planes, vehicles and firefighters to help. Now where are they going to run? These guys looking like they just come out of the cave and trying to fight Moses, when all this water behind them is gone and these boats have nothing to float in. What are they going to do? They're going to be throwing their bodies down in the dust and praying the hardest they've ever prayed. It will be so dry they probably won't even be able to cry. Rescuers and volunteers helped local people evacuate the village of Mati during a wildfire near Athens on July 23, 2018. The death toll jumped Tuesday morning after the Red Cross discovered 26 bodies on the lawn of a seaside villa in Mati. Rescue crews have picked up at least 700 tourists from beaches. CNN reports that some residents in seaside villages had only one way to escape the raging flames: to flee towards the water. And wow, look at this picture. Doesn't this look like hell on earth? Nowhere to run. Bridges, tarmac melting. Can't get in your car to drive anywhere, jam-packed. Complete hell on earth, trapped in your own nation. Cars are blocked at the closed national road during a wildfire in Kineta near Athens on Monday. Valerie Gash. Getty Images. Associated Press. AFP quoted officials. AFP, Getty Images. Who suspect that arson by house looters. Oh, here we go again. Always with the arson. Dude, I know the arsonists have a compulsion to start fires. Here's the thing. They must be very stupid, because where they're going to go to drink water, if the Greek water is slightly salty, they can't drink that water. It needs to be desalinated. Because salinated water is salty water. They need a desalination plant to turn it to fresh water. And these guys are dumb. They're killing themselves for a little entertainment and some red smoke in the sky. And don't forget, even though Fukushima is in Japan, all that dust has spread around the world. So we're all breathing in that toxic air. Especially these guys whose wildfires are, well, giving them the type of flames that their birthday cake didn't give them. Arson by house looters. No. Judgment by Almighty God. Might have triggered the blazes. In 2007, 84 were killed by forest fires in Greece, triggered by high temperatures. Oh, and arson. Okay. The U.S. Embassy in Athens issued the following travel advisory. The first fire broke out in a pine forest near the seaside settlement of Kineta, 50 kilometers, 30 miles, west of Athens, between the capital and Corinth. Major fires broke out Monday afternoon in the area northeast of Athens, Penteli, Viotsa, Mati, Rafina, and Agios Andreas. Local authorities urge residents to evacuate. The Athens-Corinth National Road is currently open. The Athens Eleftherios Venizelos International Airport is open. Verify your flight schedule with your carrier. Fueled by record high temperatures, wildfires are wreaking havoc around the world this summer, with 27 active fires in Sweden, killing at least one person. Let me read that again. Finally, an author gets it. Fueled by record high temperatures, wildfires are wreaking havoc around the world this summer. Around the world. Or the earth, because the Bible describes the world as a nation and the earth as the whole planet. So really it's around it. Technically it's incorrect. It's around the earth. This summer, with 27 active fires in Sweden killing at least one person. Wow. Rome and the rest of Europe looks like hell right now. Look how red it is. 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. That's gonna kill a hell of a lot of Europeans. It's a bit cooler here where I am. I'm probably around here in Essex. Let's take a look at some other places. Europe heat wave sparks health warnings as temperatures soar. High temperatures combined with high humidity make conditions dangerous. Yeah, because it's like being in a steam bath plus the extra heat. Parts of Europe are experiencing their most extreme heat in more than a decade as temperatures hit 44 degrees Celsius, 111 Fahrenheit. Several countries have issued health warnings as this week's record-breaking weather conditions continue to affect swathes of the continent. Sweltering temperatures in Italy have sparked wildfires, and dozens of towns and cities are on the health ministry's maximum heat alert. That means hell has come to town, baby. The heat wave has left some regions facing the threat of severe drought. I remember Brother Darwood, the infamous New York apostle, said, "Isn't it funny how the same conditions that the white man has taken to African nations and non-white nations are now visiting places such as the Hamptons and New York and England and the rest of the European nations. The drought is making first world countries look like third world nations. Now, how did they skip the second world and just go straight to the third? I've always wondered that. But let's continue. Greek wildfire struck like flamethrower. Yeah, the Most High throwing fireballs. Move over, Ken and Reed. Survivors of the fires that have killed 74 people in Greece describe being forced into the sea. Wow. 43 degrees in Rome. At least 2 people have died, one in Romania and one in Poland, and dozens more have been taken to hospital suffering from conditions related to extreme weather, Reuters news agency reports. Italy is currently experiencing temperatures 10 degrees higher than the average for this time of year. People have been urged to follow advice from the authorities, stay indoors and drink plenty of water. You mean the plenty of water that they're going to switch off for 8 hours a day where you won't get one piece of drink, especially, I'm going to assume, and probably correctly, in poor neighborhoods. While rich people have their water fountains on 24/7. Italy and Spain, Macedonia are 3 of the countries are badly affected. On Wednesday, the mercury rose to 44 degrees Celsius in Sardinia. On Thursday, temperatures hit 43 degrees near Rome, while Sicily recorded 42 degrees Celsius as a blanket of hot air from Africa swept through the Mediterranean. Oh, you always gotta blame the black man. Firefighters in Albania are battling to prevent wildfires from spreading near the capital, Tirana. Getty Images. In Albania, the country's armed forces joined hundreds of firefighters on Friday to battle dozens of forest fires as temperatures reached 40 degrees Celsius. Children played in fountains to cope with high temperatures in Albania. Albania has asked the European Union for emergency assistance to help prevent the wildfire spreading near the capital, Tirana. A man uses a drinking tap to cool off in St. Peter's Square in Rome. St. Peter was a black man. All the saints were. Tuesday was the hottest day of the year so far in the Czech Republic, with highs of 37 degrees Celsius. And all these saints of the house of Israel that had European names because they were born in these colonies, these former Moorish slave colonies of the Slavic peoples, who are Caucasians, Europeans. All of them were either persecuted, killed, or disrespected during or after their death, such as King James, for example, which I won't go into here because we're dealing specifically, or mainly, with the heat, the slapping devils all over Europe. In Prague, people took to local parks to sunbathe as parts of the Czech Republic reached 38 degrees Celsius. Wow, that's Europe. Let's take a look at The Guardian. Extreme heat warnings issued in Europe as temperatures pass 40 degrees Celsius. Okay. Let's look at these pictures. Children play in a jet stream fountain in Pamplona, Spain. Photograph Villa Lopez, EPA. A cyclist waits to cross a road next to a thermometer showing 41 degrees Celsius in Valencia, eastern Spain. Extreme heat warnings across southern Europe as temperatures hit 40 degrees Celsius and above. A polar bear at Budapest Zoo has been given blocks of ice to combat the heat. Some have all the luck, don't they? Children cool off in water on a square in Tirana, Albania. Feeling hot, hot, hot. Spontaneously combust, baby. Okay, who's next on the menu? Heat wave scorches Sweden as wildfires rage in the Arctic. Oh, that's a beautiful picture, man. I mean, look at that. Look at that image. It's like camping for weed heads. Look at all that ganja smoke. Whoever's been planting secret stashes in this forest isn't getting that weed back. Stockholm, as Europe grapples with near record temperatures and sustained drought, Sweden has become the latest nation to confront a wave of wildfires as far north as the Arctic Circle. Now, all those Africans, all the Hamites that are getting on these cornflakes, Kellogg's rafters and floating across before the cardboard melts and drowns them, and the sharks having a 3-course dinner on their ass. They left a drought to come to a drought. Now, it's only been, say, a couple weeks to a month that this drought has happened because of a warm gust of air that slapped the northern gust of cool air and just took over. But imagine that. They're going to get here, see the heat, look at the toffee that they call roads as it melts in front of their eyes, and say, we should have stayed where we were. It seems that it's not as hot, but it certainly is dry. There were no immediate reports of any deaths or injuries, but the intensity of the fires and the extreme weather conditions earlier in the year have prompted anguished debate among some Swedes who have described the conflagrations in apocalyptic terms and linked them to global warming. It's very, very dry. Apocalyptic terms. Judgment. 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 In most of Sweden, Jonas Olsson, a hydrologist at the Swedish Meteorological and Hydrological Institute, said on Thursday, the flows in the rivers and lakes are exceptionally low, except in the very northern part of the country. We have water shortages. Wow. May 2018, 2 months later, July 2018. My God, look. All the greenery here. The greenery really stands out in May. And then all of a sudden, a little hot air smacks Europe in the bum. And look. Now Europe's all sore, look. Dry ass. Radio Sweden said on Friday that more than 50 fires were burning across the country, including in central counties, and in Swedish Lapland, inside the Arctic Circle, threatening forests near the tourist center of Jokkmokk. Who's there? Right, I couldn't resist. During the morning it was quite quiet, he said. Then it started to blow in the afternoon. Then it burned on the treetops, and then the smoke starts to burn. The smoke ignites, so it is burning up in the sky. Welcome to hell, baby. Warm weather has gripped London recently. Temperatures across Britain have routinely soared above 86 degrees. That's 86 degrees Fahrenheit, because if it was Celsius, the only people that would be left in England is the Israelites. That wouldn't be quite. That wouldn't be bad. We'd have all the ice cream to ourselves. Fantastic. Turn it up, mate. A dry park in Dublin. The extreme weather has exposed a previously unknown 5,000-year-old henge about 30 miles north of the Irish capital. Yep, probably built by Israelites as well. In Sweden, some 49 fires were said to be burning in many parts of the country, including in central counties and in Swedish Lapland, inside the Arctic Circle. Wow. Your Wednesday briefing. Let's see, more in Europe. Let's get a look at this. Greece, trade at Novichok. Your Wednesday briefing. Good morning. Greece faces tragedy. The EU makes a trade offer and Austria tightens its borders. Here's the latest. Wow, look at this. This looks like the Greeks and Romans invaded Israelite nation and burnt to the ground. And payback's a bitch. Greece is facing its worst tragedy in a decade. Wind-fueled wildfires near Athens have ravaged seaside areas, killing at least 76 people. Another 187 on an undercover car were hospitalized. The country deployed its entire fleet of water-dropping aircraft and called on the EU for help as gale-force winds pushed the fires through coastal regions. Thousands were forced to flee. Run, run, rabbit, run. Leaving behind charred resorts and smoldering farms. One group of 26 men, women and children gathered in the hope that they could find a narrow path down to the water. They nearly reached it. They all died, some in each other's arms. Now doesn't that sound like, was it Crete? One of those villages that the Most High got tired of their house. He just rained down fire on them. Not Sodom and Gomorrah, but the bodies are still there, covered in ash. It's now a tourist site. So just like our ancestors were chopped up and displayed and hands cut off and knuckles put in shop windows for the display of white people, white people are now getting put on display using the power of nature for the entire earth to see. I'm going to read that bit again. One group of 26 men, women, and children gathered in the hope that they could find a narrow path down to the river, down to the water. They nearly reached it. They all died, some in each other's arms. USA. Agriculture. CNBC. Heat wave hits California lemons, sending prices soaring. A heat wave in Southern California's major lemon growing region this month caused a loss of lemons and squeeze in supplies. The decline in supplies has driven up wholesale prices about 40% or more in some markets. Some are predicting the supply crunch could continue into September and October. By Jeff Daniels, reporting for CNBC. Let's read a little bit about this. But first, remember, I did say earlier in this report what would happen if these food producers started losing money because the weather and the forest fires were destroying their crops. Remember, I said that the prices would go up, and then I asked, well, who's going to pay for them? Maybe that was in another report, but I do remember asking that. Fresh fruit grows on the orchard grove in California, USA. Look pretty, right? Those flames are pretty as well. Pretty in color, pretty in their movement, and pretty damn hot. A heat wave in Southern California's major lemon growing region this month caused a loss of lemons and a squeeze in supplies, which has driven up wholesale prices about 40% or more in some markets. This demand exceeds supply situation will last until September, October, or at least, said Joel Nelson, president of the California Citrus Mutual, a citrus producers trade group. Terminal prices of fresh lemons in Los Angeles have risen about 40% or more since June 1st, according to U.S. Department of Agriculture data. The price for cartons of lemons, sizes 95 to 115, at wholesale was $36 to $39 on June 1st, and as of last Friday was $52 to $55. That's an increase of $16 on the highest price. They're shooting up pretty high right now. A Los Angeles area produce market specialist who didn't want to be identified told CNBC on Monday, I heard it's like $70 on the street now. Sounds like drug dealing. Ventura County, well, you could probably get those for cheaper. The leading region in the state for lemon production, but you couldn't make lemonade with crack, suffered from record-breaking temperatures in early July at the tail end of its harvest season. Temperatures in portions of the county reached as high as 114 degrees on July 6th and hit the century mark again the next day in some growing areas. Wow, look at that graphic. 107 degrees Fahrenheit. Only 1.9 inches. That was, oh my God. That was 4th of July, huh? You deserve it. You still celebrating what savages did to the natives. Okay, I hope the fire burns all your crops. Meantime, Ventura County Farm Bureau CEO John Christ told CNBC avocado trees also were impacted by the recent heat wave. He said small fruit fell off the trees for next year's crop. The region's avocado crop is usually harvested in February or March. Weather forecasters are predicting temperatures will once climb again this week. My God, your grammar is terrible. Weather forecasters are predicting temperatures will climb once again this week in parts of Ventura County, including Fillmore, where highs could reach 104 on Tuesday and 107 on Wednesday. The same region suffered scorched crops, both lemons and avocados, back in December due to the massive Thomas fire. What was that, Hurricane Thomas? The result of the early July heat wave was more fruit than normal falling to the ground, Nelson said, so a lot of that's going to waste. He added that the supply situation is compounded by a shift in the lemon market from processed products to the majority of the crop now being consumed fresh. There's people, the change in habits, eating habits, people want to be healthy, live longer, so they want fresh produce instead of processed and packaged and plastic produce. And there are acts now coming into force, or at least there should be, where people wish to use less plastic because that's contributing to the plastic in the oceans. After planting a tree, you wait 4 years to get a decent harvest, he said. We simply haven't caught up. This is exacerbated by the fact that offshore supplies from Mexico, Chile, and Argentina have not materialized as anticipated. So those nations should listen to a story like this, and it'll probably be in Spanish, either way, and save your crops for your own people. You need to feed them or they're going to turn against you. You'd rather export for money. People can't eat money. You're going to see how pointless money is when your requirement for food and water exceeds what you can afford to buy and what the land will allow you to produce. Cisco's FreshPoint, a major produce distributor, suggested in a tweet last week that customers should switch to limes. A series of unusual weather events has devastated the domestic #lemon crop. FreshPoint tweeted, lemons that are available will be poor quality, including excessive skin, scarring, and off sizes. We encourage substituting #limes when possible. Even apart from the grammatical inconsistencies, that was a very good article. Thank you, Jeff Daniels. And now let's read what he says. FreshPoint Inc. Fresh press alert #lemons. A series of unusual weather conditions. A series of unusual weather events has devastated the domestic #lemon crop. Lemons that are available will be poor quality, including excessive skin scar. Okay, I read that. We encourage substituting #limes. Wow, it's really affecting the entire world. Now we go to Latin America, the South America. We were in North America just now. Now Brazil. Heat wave kills 32 elderly people in Brazil. My God. Sao Paulo. The heat wave besetting most of Brazil with temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit has killed 32 elderly people in just 2 days in the city of Santos, in the southwestern state of Sao Paulo, the Municipal Health Secretariat said Wednesday. The victims who died on Monday and Tuesday ranged in age from 65 to 90, and all of them suffered from chronic health problems such as diabetes, hypertension, and heart difficulties. So that wouldn't make it easier on their body to function. Dehydration caused by the intense heat could have aggravated the victims' pre-existing problems as well, the Secretariat said. Of the 32 people, 17 died in their homes, while the other 15 expired in health centers where they had been admitted. What happened to hydrating them and keeping the air conditioning up? Were you only thinking about yourselves when you were tasked to take care of your elders? There were 220 telephone calls for help received by the emergency services during those 2 days, whereas the daily average is 130. Santos Health Secretary Santos Odilio Rodriguez Filho said. Odilio Rodriguez Filho said. Yo, I just effed up his name. Oh, just edit it. I'm not going to edit it. Because of the high temperatures in recent weeks in several parts of the country during the middle of the austral summer, the Santos Mayor's office has begun an information campaign about the dangers of dehydration. In Rio de Janeiro, thermometers have hit 42 degrees Celsius or 108 degrees Fahrenheit several times in the first few days of February. Last week, the Brazilian government reported that due to the intense heat wave, the consumption of electricity around the country reached historic highs and that demand for it increased during the first month of the year by 12.1% compared to January 2009. Wow. Latin American Herald Tribune brought you that story, and that was South America. Heat wave claimed 3,500 lives in 3 years. The Times of India. Let's go to India. New Delhi. Over 3,500 people died due to heat wave in the country in the last 3 years, Union Minister Kiran Rijiju told the Lok Sabha today. Rijiju said 2,040 people died due to heat wave in 2015, as many as 1,114 in 2016 and 384 in 2017. Of the total casualties due to heat wave, the highest, 2,381 people, died in Andhra Pradesh in the last 3 years, he said in a written reply. The Minister of State for Home said in 2018 so far, 22 people have lost their lives due to heat wave. Here's the thing. These people, the Indians, they're smart. They're running the computer sectors in America. How comes they live in India? They know that every year the same neighborhoods, people are dying. Why don't they change their habits and attitudes? The Minister of State for Home said 2018 so far, 22 people have lost their lives due to heat wave. My God. Every year people die from heat wave. What's next? Who's next? Another story from India. In India, summer heat may soon be literally unbearable. See what I mean? New Delhi. On a sweltering Wednesday in June, a rail-thin woman named Ramati gripped the doctor's table with both hands. She could hardly hold herself upright. The pain in her stomach was so intense. Ramati in pink. This is her, right here. At the Lok Nayak Jai Prakash Narayan Hospital in New Delhi last month. She had travelled for 26 hours in a hot oven of a bus to visit her husband, a migrant worker here in the Indian capital. By the time she got here, the city was an oven too. The city was an oven too. Why'd you put the comma? Put it there. Right there. Then put the colon. Oh God, I ain't got time for this. 111 degrees Fahrenheit by lunchtime, and Ramati was in an emergency room. Even the Indians who live in India can't take the heat. Wow. The doctor, Reena Yadav, didn't know exactly what had made Ramati sick, but it was clearly linked to the heat. Dr. Yadav suspected dehydration, possibly aggravated by fasting during Ramadan, or it could have been food poisoning, common in summer because food spoils quickly. Dr. Yadav put Ramati, who is 31 and goes by one name, on a drip. She held her hand and told her she would be fine. Ramati leaned over and retched. Extreme heat can kill, as it did by the dozens in Pakistan in May. But as many in South Asia's already scorching cities get even hotter, scientists and economists are warning of a quieter, more far-reaching danger. Extreme heat is devastating the health and livelihoods of tens of millions more. This is Armageddon, man. If global greenhouse gas emissions continue at their current pace, they say heat and humidity levels could become unbearable, especially for the poor. It is already making them poorer and sicker, like the Kolkata street vendor who squats on his haunches from fatigue and nausea, like the woman who sells water to tourists in Delhi and passes out from heat stroke at least once each summer. She should drink some of that water. Like the women and men with fever and headaches who fill emergency rooms, like the outdoor workers who become so weak or sick that they routinely miss days of work and their daily wages. Wow, an Indian missing a day off work. This really is bad, mate. On the left, we have an image of a construction site in New Delhi. For laborers, taking time off means lost wages. They'll just hand the money to someone else who's willing to work in hell. And on the right, we have what looks like a poor urban neighborhood. Clearing trees on construction sites can worsen urban heat. Yeah, that's because the trees give you shade. It's like in Chigwell, for example. That's the neighborhood in Essex. You have some idiot town and country planners who thought it would be a good idea to remove thousands of trees in order so that rich people could put their houses there. Now, rich people can still put their houses there, but leave some of the trees. Why? Because they act as two things. Number one, a barrier from the heat in the summer, and in fall or autumn winter conditions, a barrier from the cold breeze in the winter. So if there's a superstorm or a mediocre storm where there are miniature tornadoes but the gales of wind are like 50, 60, 70 miles per hour, the trees act as a wind breaker. Oh no, let's cut all of them down and let that wind, rain, and basically in general the elements batter these people. Okay, so be it. That's what they've done right here, moved all the trees. Even the animals can't get any shade now. The things people do for money. These cities are going to become unlivable unless urban governments put in systems of dealing with this phenomenon and make people aware. Now, sometimes when I pass by a fast food place, or if I'm actually in there getting some pita bread or naan bread, there's a kebabish. Shout out to the kebabish on Green Lane. I go in there, I watch Indian television. Pakistani television, actually, excuse me. And in Pakistan, the people are complaining that corruption is so bad, just like around the world, they are very skeptical about who they're going to vote for. So what does that have to do with this? Well, the same corruption exists in Indian politics. And Indians always complain about politicians, just like every other voter or constituent is complaining in every state, in every country, in every government. They're complaining about their politicians because it's global corruption. As the Bible states, the world has been handed over to the evil. It's been given to iniquity and sin. So that's what we have right now in the form of these politicians. So what's the point I'm making? Here's the point. The point is, what makes you believe that these corrupt politicians who only care about their bank account first, their family second, and if at all their nation last, these are the type of people that are going to listen to you and implement systems to help the poor? They don't value the poor, even though the poor people that are doing most of the labor intensive work are bringing a considerable amount of GDP into the country or nation. Greed, 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 evil is what's going to collapse their nations, and their money's not going to be worth anything. But do they care? No. These cities are going to become unlivable unless urban governments put in systems of dealing with this phenomenon and make people aware, said Sujata Sonik, who served as a senior official in the Indian Ministry of Home Affairs and is now a fellow at the Harvard University School of Public Health. Oh, so you're not in India. Surprise, surprise. They got air conditioning in America. Oh, you smart. Indeed, a recent analysis of climate trends in several of South Asia's biggest cities found that if current warming trends continued, by the end of the century, wet bulb temperatures, a measure of heat and humidity that can indicate the point when the body can no longer cool itself, would be so high that people directly exposed for 6 hours or more would not survive. Looking like that fire planet in Riddick. Remember that? Not Phrygia. What was it called? Hold on. Now I want to look for it. I'll look for that later on. Or put it up on the screen in a minute. For the country's National Disaster Management Agency, alarm bells rang after a heat wave struck the normally hot city of Ahmedabad in western India in May 2010, and temperatures soared to 118 degrees Fahrenheit or 48 degrees Celsius. It resulted in a 43% increase in mortality, death, compared to the same period in previous years, a study by public health researchers found. Wow. Oh my God. I'm not going to read the entire article, but you get the point, man. People are dying in their own countries because this global Armageddonite heat wave is hitting people so badly. What's this a picture of? At home, let's read this. Mr. Biloliker says it's hard to persuade policymakers, even the public, to take heat risks seriously. It's always been hot in Hyderabad. It's getting hotter slowly, almost indiscernibly. Heat, he says, is a hidden problem. At home, he had resolved not to use his air conditioner. Through his open windows, though, his neighbor's machine blew hot air into his apartment. Wow, they're so close. You turn on your air conditioner for cooling and open your window, but because you're packed on top of another human being, the hot air that the machine expels is blown next door. So that renders all these machines useless. What you need is a community air conditioner and better living standards. But nobody cares about the poor, so who's going to do that? I'm not going to do it. They're not my people. They have to do it. But are they coming together to do it? You see, people would say that these nations are more together than black nations because they always look at us as a nation that doesn't know who it is. Well, we do, thanks to these Israelite brothers, peace be upon them, for giving these readings of scripture. But look how disheveled these other nations are. Among each of these nations, it doesn't seem like they're faring any better than we are. His 3-year-old daughter became so overheated that her skin was hot to touch. Reluctantly, he shut his windows and turned his machines on because you got to pay to use the machine. And if you try to cool naturally, somebody's air conditioner is blowing hot air into your property. You know, sometimes I sit in England and I'm doing these videos and I'm working towards making money and more money in my business, Buy Me Like Me Limited. And I think to myself that I'm in a bad condition because I don't have that many wages coming in. And then I read stories like this around the motherland, Africa, around Israel, Jerusalem, around India, such as this story, and around Pakistan, North South America, and I just see people are in far worse conditions than I'm in. See, right now it's 29.5 degrees in my room, 39% relative humidity, which is it's quite warm. I've got my shirt off and I'm doing this report. But in comparison to what other people are going through, like in Rome right now, the Romans are experiencing 40 degrees, which is 10 and 11 degrees hotter than what I'm sitting in right now. I don't think I could do this report if I was inside the house. I'd have to do it outside in shade. And it would be nice because you'd be hearing the atmospheric conditions, you'd be hearing children playing, splashing in the little water they got. But this is a global catastrophe. And I'm just interested to see how other people are dealing with these situations. But I'm going to use the word again. Let's say it with me. Judgment. Look at this. Look at all these machines. And people are still suffering. So somebody's getting paid. Whoever made these machines is getting paid. But people are still suffering. Where to next? Let's come back home to England. Finally, we went around the world. We didn't cover everywhere. I think, Africa. Let's take a look at Africa before we come to England. We'll go to Africa next. Africa. Two short stories here. First of all, from 247wallstreet.com. Heatwave continues scorching North Africa by Paul Orsic. About a week and a half ago, the Algerian city of Ouargla set an African continent high temperature record of 124.3 degrees Fahrenheit, 51.3 degrees Celsius. Dude, that's 21 to 22 degrees hotter than in my room right now. That's almost twice the heat. Wednesday's high in Ouargla was a mere 111 degrees. Yo, you African, you from Algeria, put below the video how to actually say that. Thank you very much, brother. 6 degrees cooler than Hassi Massoud, Algeria, just 50 miles away. The first week of July saw blistering temperatures across all of North Africa. Blistering is the right word. Already the world's hottest continent. Four of today's 5 highest temperatures were recorded in Algeria, and the 5th was posted in neighboring Tunisia. Vernon, Texas, and Needles, California, are Wednesday's U.S. hotspots. With an early morning temperature of 93 degrees Fahrenheit. The 15 hottest U.S. cities all recorded temperatures of at least 91 degrees. Temperatures in the Middle East remain very high as well. An Iranian city rang up 111 degrees today, as did Kuwait's international airport. 2 Saudi cities posted highs of 109 degrees on Wednesday. In large parts of the Middle East and North Africa, MENA, MENA, Middle East, North Africa, rising temperatures challenged the very existence of the inhabitants. So, if there are any Caucasians there, they might not be there for too much longer, because you literally are not designed for hot weather conditions and climates. And having said that, it seems that the temperatures are getting so hot that the average human outside of the most melanated group of people, so-called black people, will not be able to live there. And if you do, you'll have to wrap up, because that skin tight stuff is just going to keep heat close to the body. That's why you wear skin tight stuff in the winter. If you got any sense, you wear it underneath your padded clothes to keep the heat, just like long johns. You keep those long johns on, they keep the heat close to the skin, and then you put on padded clothes so that the air that carries the cold breeze doesn't push that breeze onto your skin. It acts as a wind breaker. See the sense of wearing skin tight clothes in winter, and in the summertime you wear that heavy stuff to keep the heat off your body. That's why they wrap themselves in the Sahara. That, and because certain customs allow them to live there. But go there with your skin tight stuff. First of all, they'll kick you out of the country because they don't tolerate it. And secondly, if it's someplace a little satanic like Dubai, where they're trying to mix and serve 2 masters, you wear that skin tight stuff and still burn. Why? Because you're an idiot. You're going to put that skin tight stuff on that keeps the heat close to your body and act like you're not sweating profusely. You're going to have sweat marks like you just jumped only your arse into the swimming pool. As the climate warms, living conditions in these parts of the world will become even harsher and longer. Hotter heat waves and more severe dust storms that could leave the regions uninhabitable. Wow. You wish you live inside the planet now, right? You won't feel it. And you can have a constant water supply because the water is generated from internal systems of the planet, underground water systems, and atmospheric rain as well, that go and seep into the earth and replenish the underground waterways. In the Sahel transitional, Sahel, yeah, you got hell right, transitional zone between the Sahara Desert and the Sudanian Savannah, or Sudanian Savannah. I like Sudanian, but Sudanian sounds better because it's actually Sudan. So Sudanian Savannah, up to 12% of gross domestic product, GDP, could disappear by 2050 as water resources dry up. So you're going to have to change your lifestyle depending on what you eat. Any crops that don't need that much water, that's going to become the staple crop over there. So maybe if you're in business, you might want to start those crops and get people used to it. And it won't take off initially because people, if they can still get their oranges and they're going to buy that. But when that starts to dry up, they're going to come and see you. In the United States, Denver set an all-time record high of 105 degrees on June 28th. Now remember, these hundreds of degrees, they're in Fahrenheit, because if they were in Celsius, people would be dead. And Glasgow, Scotland, set its own record high of 89.4 degrees on the same day. And get this, on June 28th, Kirat, Oman, recorded the hottest low temperature of all time on any continent, 109 degrees. That's low, 109 degrees. That's absurd. by Paul Orsick. Thank you, Paul. That was a good report. Now the other story. Here on phys.org. Frequency of extreme heat waves on the increase in Africa could occur annually. That's every year by 2040. That ain't too far away. Some of you just born, you're going to be 20. Some of you going to be 40. Some of us going to be 60. Some others of us are going to be 80. May 11, 2016, Institute of Physics. Let's take a look at the motherland, a vast land. Where would you rather be? See here, right there? That's right next to the water. So that's cool. That's why there's green belt areas there. And then there's vast deserts in northern Africa. Then there's a little valley right here. And might be the Nile. Then there's a lot of greenery here. Then down here, greenery, but it seems to be dry now. And if these conditions continue, that might actually be what happens. And then Southern Africa and Central Africa seems to be like a Wakanda right here. Wakanda probably is here. Look, it's dense populated. You just can't see it from satellite. Because the Israelites that are still in Hamite or Hermetic territory are smart. They know how to cloak their stuff. Alright, let's get back to the story. Satellite imagery of Africa. Credit public domain. Longer, hotter, more regular heat waves could have a damaging effect on life expectancy and crop production in Africa, warn climate scientists in a study published in the journal Environmental Research Letters. Examining temperature data from 1979 to 2015, the researchers cautioned the heat waves classified as unusual today could become a normal occurrence within 20 years. So 2 decades from now, this could be a normality. So seeing your roads melt in England, because this is all part of that same global system, could be a normal occurrence. This scenario could be triggered by an increase in average global temperatures or average global temperature of 2 degrees. So just by a jump in 2 degrees, the entire system goes in a different direction. Risk all year round. Located between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, Africa experiences high levels of solar radiation all year round, and heat waves can occur in any season, not just during summer months. Running climate models through to 2075, the scientists found that so-called unusual heat waves could occur as frequently as 4 times per year. That's like every season: spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, autumn, winter. 4 times per year towards the end of the century. In other words, 1 dangerously hot spell for every season of the year. Like I just said, Africa is one of the most vulnerable continents to climate change, and even a modest rise in average global temperature could have severe consequences for people living there, said Jana Silman of the Center for International Climate and Environmental Research, Cicero, one of the institutions taking part in the study. We need to put considerable effort into climate change adaptation to reduce the risk of extreme events such as heat waves, which are likely to occur much more frequently in the future. Now, how do you do that? Let me read that again. We need to put considerable effort into climate change adaptation to reduce the risk of extreme events. You can't reduce the risk of extreme events, because that's why it's called an extreme event. It's going to happen regardless of how you change to it. What are you going to do? Drink less water? The body needs water to survive. I'd like to hear exactly what they're proposing. Analytical approach. To crunch the numbers, the team, which also included researchers from the Institute for Environmental Protection and Research, ISPRA, and the University of Catania, both in Italy, uses a metric dubbed the Heatwave Magnitude Index daily. And those are the abbreviations there, HWMID. The data format takes into account the severity of the temperature extremes as well as the number of consecutive days of hot weather. Using this approach, the group can compare heat waves occurring in different places and at different times of the year, but there are other details to factor in. The severity of the impact on human mortality and crop production depends upon the vulnerability of the communities affected and the environmental systems, added Silman. For example, the heat wave in Finland during 1972, which we have studied previously, was comparable to the period of hot weather occurring in Central Europe during 2003. However, the latter, 2003, event was responsible for more deaths than the Finnish heat wave. Full details of the team's analysis quantifying the magnitude and the spatial extent of the most extreme heat waves experienced in Africa between 1979 and October 2015 across different seasons can be found in the IOP Journal Environmental Research Letters. My God. So those were two stories about Africa. So we've pretty much gone around the world. Now let's come home to Britain. Set for 2-week heat wave, right? And I'm thinking it's more than 2 weeks now. United Kingdom. Britain set for 2-week heat wave. Britain is heading for a sizzling 2-week heat wave, with temperatures set to soar into the 90s, forecasters predicted today. The sun was expected to blaze across the country over the next fortnight, with London, the southeast and the Midlands catching the most rays. British Weather Services expert Dale said, "We're going to hit the magical figure of 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius." He added that the good weather would coincide perfectly with the early part of the school holidays. It's going to be the hottest time of the year in the last week of July and first week in August. There will be a sustained heat wave. The UK will be sucking up tropical air from the south. I told you, it came from the south and slapped the north in the face. The senior forecaster explained. The temperatures in the surrounding seas are a Celsius degree warmer than they were this time last year. This cocktail makes for potentially high temperatures. The 2 weeks of warm weather will be dotted with thunderstorms, dude. We have not had one thunderstorm yet, Mr. Dale added. He said there was an outside chance the previous record for the highest temperature in the UK could be broken. This was recorded at Cheltenham in Gloucestershire on August 3rd, 1990, when temperatures reached 37.1 degrees Celsius or 98.8 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat wave follows some of the worst weather the UK has seen for centuries after severe floods earlier this year. See? The Most High has a sense of humor. In the beginning of the year, I'm going to flood you. Middle of the year, you're going to get a heat wave. Watch. Mark my words. End of the year now, it's going to be pure ice and hailstones. Mashing up the place. Let's see what else is going on in England. Okay, here's one story. UK heatwave temperature record could be broken this week, but I don't want to read it on the phone. So what I'm going to do, share the link and send it to Gmail. No, dude, I said Gmail. What the hell is wrong with you? Right. And once I've sent that there, then we're going to go back. Alright, from Raheem World. I'm going to send it to there we go. Yeah, that'll do nicely. Alright, send. Okay. That's been sent. Now, let's see if we can actually find the story where the roads were melting, because that's really what this was all about, man. There we go. That's there. Let's go to the BBC. That's better. We'll read this in a minute, but first we'll find the story of the melted roads to bring this report to a close. And I hope you've enjoyed it so far, as I enjoy reading to you. Don't know if you can hear that helicopter buzzing around, but let's continue with this story. Let's maximize. Great. Let's get on with this. UK heatwave warning. Britain's roads melt as mercury hits 92 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is from the Express, delivered by Google. On the left, we see a melted road. Do you see the tire tracks in the road? My goodness. And on the right, we have people walking in a park, which probably looks a lot more green at other times during the year, especially after a winter. There's a lot of ice and snow around, a lot of humidity. Now look, it's turned the grass yellow and gold. That's how hot it is. All the grass is burnt up. And these trees will probably look a bit more green. They've probably seen a better days. Britain's boiling temperatures melted a road in a street near Godalming, or as I said earlier, God-damning. The UK heatwave is scorching the country, with roads melting in the south as the mercury soars to 33.3 degrees Celsius or 92 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's forecast to become even hotter. Incredible pictures show how Britain's boiling temperatures melted a road in a street near Godalming, Surrey. The scorching sun softened the road in Santon Downham as temperatures soared to 33.3 degrees Celsius, 92 Fahrenheit, breaking this year's record of 33 degrees Celsius, 91.4 Fahrenheit, reached at Porthmadog in North Wales on June 28th. And the tires of heavy vehicles can be seen embedded into the asphalt. Right there. The heat is wreaking havoc across the nation, with the water level at the Lady Bower Reservoir in the Peak District lowering by more than 2 meters, reducing the Derbyshire Reservoir by up to 20%. I wonder if they ever thought about putting a cover on it. You know, like how the sewer is covered. It's a circular set or cylindrical set of rectangular bricks underground, so you don't see all that sewage flowing past you. It's actually underground. Why don't they just cover it? I wonder how the water's being affected down there, because the sewage goes to sewage treatment plants, and that water is cleaned up. People are being advised to be careful when venturing outside in the heat wave. A level 3 heatwave action alert issued by the Met Office and Public Health England earlier this week was due to expire on Friday, but will now remain in force until Saturday. The alert warns exceptionally hot and humid conditions could trigger health problems in the elderly, very young, and those with health conditions. Thank God I don't have any health conditions, because usually I'm sneezing, a little hay fever, but hay fever seems to be cleaning up as I changed my diet. I cut out a lot of dairy, and now what? I don't even sneeze. Unless it's dusty, as everybody else does. The warning states very hot and humid weather is forecast to become established across much of England during Wednesday and Thursday, then continuing into Friday. Temperatures are currently expected to peak across eastern parts on Friday, with the chance of some exceptionally hot weather developing. Look at the tarmac. It's literally just pushing any moisture out of it, and the salt is attached to it. That's coming on top of the road. Look at that. The scorching sun softened the road in Santon Downham. Image Alame Live. Alame Live. How to stop sweating in the heat wave? Yeah, you can't, mate. The heat wave can leave everyone feeling uncomfortable. Stay out of the sun. Keep your home as cool as possible. Shading windows and shutting them during the day may help. Shutting them during the day may help what? May help to kill the kids that are in the front room. Okay. Open them when it is cooler at night. No. Keep them open all day so the air can flow through the house. Unless you gotta go out, then that makes sense. Keep drinking fluids. If there's anybody you know, for example, an older person living on their own who might be at special risk, make sure they know what to do. But the sun can be dangerous for younger people too. Some 220 people were treated in hospital for overexposure to the sun over the past 2 months, pushing Public Health England to issue a sunburn warning. In the alert, the organization urged to use common sense. Look, the people that are getting burnt up didn't have common sense, so it's like preaching to the choir that ain't in church. When being exposed to the continuing heat. Look at that water. I'm sure that water is way up to that wall. Just like that picture in, where was it? Italy. Roma. The Romans are getting burnt. The water level at the Lady Bow Reservoir in the Peak District's lowered by more than 2 meters. UK heatwave forecast maps 24 to 27 July. Look at that. Man, it looks like the backside of the country is hot. Like it's been sitting in a flame. wxcharts.eu. It also advised to wear sun cream and clothing that covers the skin. Well, isn't there evidence that shows sun cream is carcinogenic? You put that on there, helps to actually increase your cancer. Why? Your risk of cancer. Why? Because it has materials in it that are cancer causing, such as the plastics that they put in it to help it bind. So that's bad advice. No, put on clothes that cover skin. You know, like the Hamites, the Africans, or the Ishmaelite, the Arab, they wrap up, man. I told you, when you are in winter, you wear something tight to the skin and then you put the heavy clothes on to stop the wind carrying the cold breeze onto your skin. When you're in the summer, the last thing you want to wear is that sexy shit. It's bullshit. All that tight stuff that's gonna overheat you. That's why I laugh at people that do that, because like, oh, you think you look cool. I know you're hotter than me. You look hotter than me. You are boiling hot, and then you collapse. Britain's hottest ever day on record is 38.5 degrees Celsius, 101.3 degrees Fahrenheit, recorded at Feversham in Kent in August 2003. And just before that, and the Met Office urged people to stay out of the sun until Friday. They're not going to do it. They're going to go and get sunburn and cancer. See, now if they won't listen to their own people, how are they going to listen to anyone else? And those people are the people giving them the best advice, the sensible advice to avoid overexposure of the sun, to decrease your cancer risk. Okay, don't listen. Go ahead and sunbathe. Do everything they told you not to do. And then I'll be doing a story on you suckers. On Friday, the thermometer may reach 37 degrees Celsius or 98.6 Fahrenheit. And according to the Met Office, the heat wave is set to burn Britain for yet another week. Wow. Next article. UK heatwave reservoir turned into just a trickle in unbelievable pictures. Okay, let's take a look at that, because that looks really interesting. Get some pretty images on the screen. UK heatwave reservoir turned into just a trickle in unbelievable pictures. These unbelievable photographs show how sweltering temperatures have transformed a usually swollen reservoir into just a small trickle. Dramatic snaps of Howden Reservoir in Derbyshire catches its large basin dried and cracked under the continuous baking sun. It is usually filled with over 1.9 million gallons of water, but capacity levels have plummeted from 89.4% to just 55.4% in a month. Water levels at the Derwent Valley site, which also includes Derwent and Ladybower reservoirs, have also almost halved, according to Severn Trent. The reservoirs sits behind Howden Dam, which took a whopping 12 years to build, with work starting in 1901. So 1901, 2018, so what, 117 years that dam's been there, and in one day half the water has been eaten up by the heat wave. That is impressive. Look at this. My God. The dam is of solid masonry construction and 117 feet tall, 36 meters, 1,080 feet long, 330 meters, and impounds 1.9 million imperial gallons, or 8,600. What's KL of water? Isn't that cubic liters? From a catchment area of 5,155 acres, 20.86 kilometers squared. Several men died building the colossal dam and are buried at a nearby church. Some parts of the UK have been hit by a severe dry spell, with temperatures reaching 30 degrees Celsius day on day. Temperatures on Friday could reach 37 degrees Celsius according to the Met Office, with the hottest day of the year so far expected this week. Aldi Mystery Shop. Oh, that's an advertisement. Wow, look at this picture. Dude, how do I get rid of these adverts? Okay, that'll do. Look at that. My God. I bet there was water running through all that. It's like England has been turned into a third world nation. Look at the picture. My God. Sweltering temperatures have transformed a usually swollen reservoir into just a small trickle. It looks like a dog peed on a wall. That's what it looks like now. It doesn't look like a reservoir. United Kingdom. Two stories, both from BBC. One, however, is from the Express, or as reported by the express.co.uk. BBC weather forecast. It reads, UK braces for hottest day of the year before heavy thunderstorms hit. You wish, because heavy thunderstorms were anticipated earlier this week, and I saw the grey clouds and nothing. The Most High's teasing you. BBC weather forecast has predicted the UK could see the warmest day of the year on Thursday as temperatures rocket to near 35 degrees Celsius, with the heat wave continuing to grip the country. Over on the BBC website, it reads, UK heat wave temperature record could be broken this week. BBC weather forecast for the rest of the week predicting highs of around 36 degrees Celsius. The UK's all-time temperature record could be broken by Friday as the hot and dry summer continues. Highs of up to 37 degrees Celsius, 99 degrees Fahrenheit are forecast in southern, eastern and central England. But the Met Office says if conditions all come together, the record of 38.5 degrees Celsius, 101 degrees Fahrenheit, could be beaten. That was set in Kent in August 2003, so not too long ago, 15 years ago. But much of England could experience thunderstorms and hail showers on Friday, bringing the risk of flash flooding. Woo. Out of the frying pan into the flood. Some places could see as much as 30 millimeters of rainfall in an hour. That means the A13 is going to get blocked again. And 60 millimeters in 3 hours. That means we might see some floods running down the street. Meanwhile, fire crews are urging people enjoying barbecues and other outdoor activities in dry areas to avoid careless and reckless behavior that could start a blaze. Large field blazes leave firefighters exhausted. Well, of course, they're wearing all this heavy equipment, which is fireproof, and there's no ventilation in the suit, so they sweat, they probably lose weight, they get fatigue, they're breathing in hot atmospheric air. They don't have their breathing apparatus on from time to time. So yeah, they will feel exhausted. In London, firefighters have already attended 6 times as many large grass fires this year as in the whole of 2017. That'll give you a clue to how hot it really is. Tom George, Deputy Commissioner and Director of Operations for London Fire Brigade, said the force was fed up of politely asking people to take care. Across the country, other brigades are issuing similar warnings about the risk posed by cigarettes, glass bottles, barbecues and campfires when the ground is tinder dry, which means any moment now, if it goes a degree hotter, boom, there's another flame, another fire, another forest, and another 40 or 50 football pitches burning down. A polar bear in Yorkshire Wildlife Park takes a dip to cool down. Lucky bugger. Waterways turn bright green as high temperatures caused duckweed to multiply rapidly. So the heat makes certain plant life increase exponentially its growth rate. Churches have advertised themselves as places to keep cool. They just want more congregation. York Minster tweeted that people should look no further for a place to stay indoors and out of the sun. And while you're there, have you ever heard of a man called Jesus Christ? Would you like to? And then you hear the door close. And the weather was even too much for India's cricket team. Their warm-up match against Essex ahead of the test series with England has been cut short by a day because of concerns about the heat. And you heard earlier about how hot it was in India and how it's killing people out there. 2018 and 1976, a tale of 2 heat waves. Heat wave crisis summit for farmers. These are other stories in the news related to the same term, heat wave. UK heat wave, the winners and losers, and a guide to coping with the global heat wave. I'm going to finish just with the other story over here in a minute, but let's continue here first. Paul Hedge, oh wait, missed a bit. Sweltering Londoners forced to take the underground have found scant comfort in the news from Transport for London that the air conditioning is coming to the Central Line in 2030. Paul Hedge tweeted sarcastically, "Not too bad then. Only another 11.5 years to go." Richard Latte replying to @CentralLine @Giovanni Lepori 1. But which will come home first? AC on the Central Line or football? Some overground trains are also being forced to operate at reduced speeds because of the risk of tracks buckling. My goodness. Every time nature takes a change, if it gets hotter or colder, it affects everything. It affects all the elements within the metallic structures of the building. It affects the brickwork. It affects the chemical makeup of your roads. Your tarmac is affected. Your water supply is affected. Your food is affected, because if it's too cold, it will kill the crops, and if it's too hot, it will kill the crops. It has to be a certain mean or average temperature. Wow. Let me read that again. Some overground trains are also being forced to operate at reduced speeds because of the risk of tracks buckling. Chiltern Railways trains, for example, between London and Oxford are being rescheduled between noon and 1800 hours BST, British Standard Time, 6 p.m. each day until Friday. Hospitals too have been affected by the heat. Are your work clothes making you hotter? How long will it last? Your heatwave questions. Reality check, mapping the global heatwave. How hot is it where you are? Take a look at that later on. Let's take a look. Wow. This has been one of the most interesting, longest, and fascinating news reports I've ever done, and I hope you appreciate it. Click the like if you do. Kim Sung Lee, national officer at the Royal College of Nursing, told the BBC, "We know wards are reaching over 30 degrees Celsius. Nurses are feeling sick, dizzy, having problems with their concentration." What happened to the air conditioning? Oh yeah, the heat has to go someplace else, and that raises the electric bill. And that then does have an impact on how they care for their patients, making decisions around drugs, calculations, and just generally doing a physical occupation. The number of people visiting the NHS Choices website for advice on heat exhaustion and heat stroke has more than quadrupled compared to last year. Up to July 23rd, there were 230,611 visits to the page, while in the whole of July 2017, there were only 52,143. In London, Mayor Sadiq Khan issued a high air pollution alert for Thursday, which will be displayed at bus stops, on busy roads, and in underground stations. It is the second time in 6 months that the capital has had to use the alert system, with Mr. Khan describing London's air pollution as a public health crisis. Perfect weather for a spot of volleyball on Bournemouth Beach. People made the most of the sunshine at Cullercoats Beach in North Tyneside. Members of the public have also been urged to take precautions after research suggested people are getting less than half the sun protection they expect from suntan lotions. The problem, King's College London scientists say, is a result of the way people apply lotion to their skin. So it's nothing to do with the poisonous toxins in the actual sun cream. Okay. Hickstead Showground is lush and green compared with the fields around it. Meanwhile, in Derbyshire, the heatwave has exposed the remains of an ornate 17th century garden design at Chatsworth House. The patterns of where flower beds and paths once were can be seen under the south lawn's scorched grass. Head of Gardens, Steve Porter, said he had known the designs that date back to the 1699, which is the 17th century, were hidden underneath the lawn. Wow. 2018 and 1976, a tale of two heat waves. Drought Minister Dennis Howell framed by standpipe taps in a street in Wakefield. Looks like an image from the Carry On movie. A very different era, a very different time to now. By David Shukman, BBC Science editor. In 1976, the high pressure system was centered further to the east of the UK than now. That had the effect of drawing up hot, humid air from the south, making nighttime temperatures even hotter than they have been this year. The exact location of systems such as this really matters because the UK is relatively small, so a shift one way or the other can have a big effect. So what about the actual heat? There is no comfort to anyone toiling outdoors now, but 1976 was in a very different league to this year. That was very interesting. Now let's take a look at this other story that the BBC has. BBC weather forecast. UK braces for hottest day of the year before heavy thunderstorms hit. Yes, you hope and pray for heavy thunderstorms. BBC weather forecasters predicted the UK could see the warmest day of the year on Thursday as temperatures rocket to near 35 degrees Celsius, with the heat wave continuing to grip the country. By Darren Hunt for The Express. BBC Weather has claimed record temperatures could be reached on Thursday afternoon, with the southeast likely to see the hottest weather. Forecaster Carol Kirkwood claimed the hot temperatures could be halted on Friday as, quote unquote, torrential downpours and thunderstorms hit the country. Look, I remember when Michael Fish said that the thunderstorms in the 80s were nothing to worry about. That ended his career as a weather forecaster because there were gales of 80 plus miles per hour, and it was one of the worst thunderstorms England had ever seen. He's deceased now, but while he was alive, that was the worst moment, I presume, in his life. Outside of losing family members, just specifically his career low, that was it right there. So I think the same thing might happen to Carol Kirkwood. She claimed, I'll read it again, forecaster Carol Kirkwood claimed the hot temperatures could be halted on Friday as torrential downpours and thunderstorms hit the country. Now, if that doesn't happen, Carol, they're going to replace your face on Michael Fish's body. And I don't think you're going to like wearing his suits. Miss Kirkwood forecast humid temperatures for much of the UK before the thundery weather hits. She said, "We start off with showers in the northwest. Again, a lot of dry weather around." Yes. Cloud building from the south throughout the day, which could well produce the odd thunderstorm across the Midlands and eastern England. But again, they are going to be fairly hit and miss. Oh, it sounds like someone's playing defense. Well, I didn't say it would definitely happen. Oh, smart girl. Humid wherever you are, noticeably breeze, and temperatures in the southeastern corner somewhere will hit 34 Celsius or 35 Celsius. Making it the warmest day of the year so far, but widely across the board, we are looking at higher temperatures on Thursday than we have today. Now, I'm reporting this because I've done this report over the last few days as I've been gathering stories. Today is Thursday. We'll take her word and see what happens. Moving into Friday, the BBC weather forecast then warned about torrential conditions and thunderstorms. Yeah, your graphic looks like digital voodoo. It sounds like you're wishing that would happen. We'll see. Temperatures in the southeastern corner somewhere will hit 34 to 35 degrees Celsius. BBC weather forecaster Carol Kirkwood. You know, this BBC report has really put all the pressure on this one girl, on this one woman. Her report. Because if it doesn't happen, oh yeah, what happened to bloody Carol? And she got it wrong. The new Michael Fish. Boo. She said, now overnight on Thursday into Friday morning, we will start to see thunderstorms coming up across the southeast. They will start to come up eastern parts of the UK and some central areas as well. They will also merge with fronts coming in from the west, producing rain. So we are looking at some torrential downpours, particularly through the afternoon, particularly across northeast England and eastern Scotland. On Monday, temperatures reached 33.3 Celsius in Santon Downham in Suffolk. Met Office meteorologist Aidan McGivern, the monster area of high pressure over Scandinavia will redirect the airflow, and it will start to draw in even hotter and more humid air as we end the week. UK heatwave shock photos reveal how Devon has been scorched by severe drought. Global judgment. Water levels have fallen low at the look. Water levels have fallen low. Look, come on. Did an Englishman write this? Water levels have fallen low at Bureta Reservoir in Dartmoor, Devon, causing a severe drought in the picturesque location. All right, let me get on with this. Let's play the slideshow. Can we? My goodness, rock formations are revealed. Dartmoor, Devon. Water levels fall. Bureta Reservoir, Dartmoor, Devon. Water levels fall. My God, look at that. Let's go back. Look at this. My grass doesn't even look this bad. That's serious, man. Rock formations are revealed. For real. Wow. Water levels fall low. It really makes you appreciate the fact that you can still turn on the tap and get water. Because we take that for granted every day. We just wake up, go into the bathroom and lift up the tap and expect water to come out of it. Imagine if that didn't happen. You would really have to think in survival mode. Look, people would riot to get free stuff like sneakers. Idiots. The most important thing would be hydration, to stay liquidated. Well, not liquidated, stay hydrated. Because liquidated, my God, you're bankrupt. But I really do thank God that we can just switch on a tap and water comes out of it. And we can cook our food. We can use electrical energy to distill the water if we want to get those toxins out of it. Because those treatment plants, they put things in it to turn it from brown to transparent. And those things are chemicals. The heat will be turned up a notch on Thursday with 34 degrees and possibly even higher in the southeast. He added it will turn even hotter again on Friday with 36 degrees or possibly even higher if we don't see any thunderstorms developing. The Met Office has issued a yellow weather warning for thunderstorms on Friday impacting parts of England. Dude, you're looking ahead. It's good to look ahead and plan, but let's wait and see, because Friday is tomorrow. A statement reads, there is a slightly increased likelihood of thunderstorms affecting parts of England on Friday. The warning area has been extended further south and parts of northwest England have been removed. The all-time UK record of 38.5 degrees recorded in Faversham, Kent in August 2003 could be under threat as temperatures continue to increase. The Met Office said several places have had 54 consecutive dry days, the longest spell since 1969, when 70 days passed with no significant rainfall. And the final thing that we want to look at, where in the world temperatures are above and below average for 1st to 20th July. Look at that. It's a global heat wave. We didn't cover Canada. Japan, Canada we did, Africa, which is there. We did America, North and South. Hold on. Do you know where you are? There's Australia. There's America. There's the South. North America. Canada. Mate. Where are you? Africa, England, Europe, Asia, Japan, Canada, America, North and South. Yeah, we are in the right place. Okay. Up here would be Greenland, down here would be the Arctic. And the Arctic Circle. Look how the heat has just covered the entire world. Temperatures are measured against the average for the period 1981 to 2010. Source Copernicus Climate Change Service, European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecast. I just like to give a shout out to everyone that has compiled these reports, all the news agencies, all the independent journalists. That includes the people with their mobile phone cameras. And I've used some clips, so that's, what do they call that? Fair use. Thank you very much. Countries across the world have been facing extremely high temperatures this summer. From the UK across to Scandinavia and Japan, the hot weather is expected to continue for the rest of the month. Japan has declared a natural disaster with high temperatures leading to thousands being admitted to hospital with heat stroke. Still no word on Fukushima. Like, that isn't the worst nuclear disaster in history. Still not talking about it. Still ignoring it. That is still radiating in the Pacific, but that's for another report. Various temperature records for July were broken in Southern California, Eastern Canada, Algeria, which we touched on, and Norway. We went close to that because we looked at Europe as well. In Oman, the coolest overnight temperature was recorded at 42.6 degrees Celsius, which may well have been the highest low ever. Sweden has been hit by forest fires spreading as far north as the Arctic Circle. In Greece, at least 60 people have died in wildfires in the region around Athens. Reality Check has looked at the global picture, which countries have been hotter. Reality Check has looked at the global picture. Which countries have been hotter than normal? Many countries have experienced above average temperatures in the month of July so far. The map shows the countries where temperatures are higher or lower compared with what you'd expect for this period of time. Blue colors indicate cooler temperatures than the 1981 to 2010 regional average, and red shows where it's been hotter. Where in Europe temperatures are above and below average for 1st to 20th July. Norway, Sweden, UK are exceptionally hotter. Wow. Between 4 and 14 degrees hotter. Temperatures are measured against the average for the period 1981 to 2010. The countries where it has been much warmer than average: UK, Scandinavia, in particular Norway and Sweden, Eastern Canada, parts of Eastern Siberia. And when you hear Siberia, especially in movie terms, you think hella cold, Siberian labor camps, prison, gulags. It was probably even hot underground, where they have their torture centers, the worst of the worst criminals. Japan and the region around the Caspian Sea. That's great, right? It's been colder than average in parts of southern Europe, including Spain and Portugal, parts of northern Siberia in Russia, and the southernmost part of South America. Based on the data used to populate the map collected by the Copernicus Climate Change Service, the hottest July on record in Europe was in 2010. Then it was 2 degrees above the average. July 2018 is likely to rank among the hottest for Europe, but it is unlikely to be number 1. What about June? Globally, the month was the 5th hottest June since 1880. Ooh, over a century ago, according to the US National Centers for Environmental Information. Let's keep going. I only got another couple of paragraphs to read. The hottest June was 2016, where the global temperature was 0.91 degrees Celsius above the average. It was the 42nd consecutive June and the 402nd consecutive month with temperatures above average, according to their data. In the UK, this June was provisionally the 3rd warmest since 1910, and the average maximum temperatures were between 2 and 3 degrees Celsius above average in most areas, according to the UK Met Office. What's behind these high temperatures? There's never one single factor that explains hot weather around the world. The BBC science editor David Shukman says, "What is striking now is that multiple heat waves are happening at the same time." Wow. The BBC science editor David Shukman says, "What is striking now is that multiple heat waves are happening at the same time," as if someone is manipulating them to work together all at once. The key is the jet stream. This year it's been meandering in great loops, and the UK has ended up to the south of it. Add to that sea temperatures similar to previous heat waves and climate change, the warming of the atmosphere, it all makes heat waves more likely. Climate scientists are not saying we will get heat waves every year, but they do say the risks of extreme heat are going up. BBC Reality Check. And that was quite something to end this long report on, because it basically summed up the world temperatures globally and said that it is a combination of heat waves all across the earth. Wow. So I'm finished reading this report for now. Tune back in for other reports. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you paid attention, and I hope you stayed for the end. Is there anything else? Oh yes, remember, share this story with as many people and places as you possibly can. Free news, baby. Real news, baby. Judgment, 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 judgment. The reservoir sits behind Howden Dam, which took a whopping 12 years. Oh my God, you flip off in your grammar. Finally, we're back, baby. Ever since I changed the quality of the picture in the phone, it just makes me think I can actually click, but this has to be touched by the finger. Okay, UK weather. Britain's roads melt on 33.3 degrees Celsius, hottest day of the year. Okay. Close that. What are you doing? Oh, mate. Why'd you disappear? Come on. You made me look stupid now. After all that time, we went around the world. Look, come back. Pause.